Yo, what's up, guys? It's me, Don Weeb, here back with a brand new episode of my Blank Explained series. I did one video about chakra from the series Naruto already, and as you can see from the thumbnail and title, today we'll be covering Nen from Hunter x Hunter. If you guys are not aware of the series HXH or Hunter x Hunter, it is a really good shonen series made by the same author and mangaka of Yu Yu Hakusho, which is a very beloved series as well. But today we will be talking exclusively about Hunter x Hunter and its power system, which is Nen. So getting into it, just right off the bat, we know that Nen is a power system very similar to chakra and ki, and it being a life energy. The thing different about it, though, that makes it so unique, as well as one of my favorite power systems, is how you can obtain it, as well as mastery of it. So for the series itself, unlike a lot of the other shonens, this power system comes into play later into the show. With most shonens, it usually starts off using its superpower aspect right off the bat, with things like My Hero Academia using quirks and Dragon Ball with ki and martial arts kind of staying its theme, and Naruto chakra. For Hunter x Hunter, it starts off the show by hinting at this power system using Gon. For when he was in the Hunter exam, he actually uses an aspect of the power system called Zets, which allows him to hide his presence. And as the viewer, we're unaware of the technique being a part of this greater universe, and so this foreshadowing later on is way more appreciated, and it really shows the nuances of how this author knows what he's doing with this show. As for Nen itself, the way that one can obtain it is through either rigorous training and by unlocking your aura nodes manually, which is where you train in order to push aura, life energy, through these nodes in your body that everyone has, but they're all closed naturally. And in order to force them open, you have to train to do it, or you can have someone who already has Nen and already has their aura nodes open, forcefully open all of your nodes like what Gon and Killua did, with this method being more dangerous and also having much harsher effects because of the user having to use Hatsu on your body. And if you have no protection with your own Nen, Nen can be extremely dangerous for non-Nen users, as is shown in the Hunter exam arc, with Hisoka and Illumi just stomping everyone in the entire Hunter exam because they're the only ones who have Nen. So, just for an example of the difference between a Nen user versus a non-Nen user. It's very similar to the way stands are in JoJo's, with unless you have Nen, you can't even see the other person's Nen, so it becomes almost impossible to fight. As for the power system itself, where it comes from, there's no real answer to this, at least in the basis of the show, but we know that Nen comes from all living life forms due to during the Ant arc, with Mirawen being able to use Nen, as well as the other ants, the Chimera ants, all being able to use Nen, even though they're majorly not human. So we know that other creatures possess Nen and can access it, but we don't know exactly where it comes from. Other than that, it's a life energy. If you want to count the movie as well, the Hunter x Hunter movie 2, there is another energy that's like a death energy called Own. And Own is like this opposite version of Nen, and it cancels it out. So think Asta's anti-magic from Black Clover. I'm using a lot of other examples of different power systems since Nen is very complicated in itself, and it has a lot more aspects to it without much history to it specifically. Anyway, I'll go into how Nen is used, with Nen having different outlets of potential for its power. So when you're born and you access your Nen, based on your personality and how you are, your Nen will be different compared to someone else. So using Killua and Gon, our main protagonists, Killua is a transmuter, which means he turns his Nen into another energy. So we know that he can transform his aura into lightning or electricity, and he's transmuting it or like transforming it into that power. And because of how he was raised as an assassin and was exposed to lightning and poison so much, he had a high potential of using his Nen to transform it into something like that, because he knows the element very well. Another example is Gon using his enhancer, and being an enhancer allows him to enhance his body or weapons, using his Nen as a multiplier of sorts. Think Super Saiyan on Goku. As for how many categories there are in total, I've already listed 2 of them. There is Transmuter, Enhancer, Conjurer, Specialist, Manipulator, and finally Emitter, with Emitter probably being the most underutilized in the show. Sorry, just saying how it is. There's a few other things about Nen as well pertaining to these special aspects of a person. Being a specialist is unique in that you don't have any specific category that you fit into, which is why it's on its own and the opposite of Enhancer. But just listing off their percentages, for example, let's pretend that someone was an Enhancer. They can only use 100% Enhancement, 80% Transmuter, 80% Omission, 60% Manipulator, and 60% Conjurer, and 0% Specialization. And now, what those numbers mean is that they can only use so much power or only grow so much in those different categories based on what you're a natural at. This is where things get complicated with specialists like Kurapika or Crollo, who have abilities such as stealing others' abilities, or with Kurapika, whenever his eyes turn red, he can access 100% of every Nen category, which is really overpowered. But there is these things in Nen called contracts. Any Nen user could make a contract with themselves in order to gain more power or to make one of their abilities stronger. These Nen contracts, based on your will, can increase your powers detrimentally or extremely high. Based on what we saw with Kurapika during the York New arc against the Phantom Troop, he went from a brand new Nen user the same as Killua and Gon to being on level with the Phantom Troop, just by making one contract with the power that if he failed it, he would lose his life. So Nen contracts are no joke, and we see another Nen contract later in the series, which some spoilers. We see Gon. When Gon activates his 100% adult form, that was a Nen contract he activated, where he sacrificed time to the point where he would be strong enough to defeat an opponent many times more powerful than he was. So Nen contracts can be pretty insane. Moving away from all the insane hacks later abilities that are definitely going to be important later on, more so in the series. From the very beginning, there's different techniques that someone can use to master their Nen. Considering that once you first unlock your aura, it's going to be unpure and difficult to control, and the more you work on mastering Ten, Ren, Hatsu, and Zetsu, the 4 basic properties, the more you'll be able to control your Nen in order to have more power. So we see this during the Heaven's Arena arc, in where Gon and Killua first are learning about the power. Each of the 4 that I said, as long with others that we learn later on, like Ren and Ko, have different abilities that enhance Nen and use it in different ways. Ren allows you to boost your power of your Nen. Zetsu, as I talked about earlier, allows you to hide your presence, so it also takes away your durability, which would be your Ten, which is your defense, or your defensive Nen. Most Nen users will always have Ten around their body, unless they are charging their Nen into a Ko type attack. Ko is where you're focusing all of your Nen into a certain point in your body, and then there's also Hatsu, which is where you're actually using Nen into an attack. There's more phases of Nen as well, like different techniques of using it, such as focusing it into your eyes in order to enhance sight, to see deeper levels of Nen, such as what happened during the Heaven's Arena arc when Hisoka used his bungee gum, and his opponent had to use his Nen in order to see it, since it was invisible to the naked eye. Even though Nen users can see basic Nen, there are some types of Nen that can be hidden unless you use more Nen to see it. So it can be pretty complicated, but I promise it is a lot easier the further you go along. Nen rules are broken a lot later into the series, especially with the Ant arc, considering things that Nen can do that are insane, like controlling life and the medical uses we see for it and healing. So there's a lot of potential with this power system, and honestly, it's a pretty good one. So if I really had to rate it on a scale of power systems, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Not for being the most overpowered system, since Ki can wipe out planets, and we haven't seen any feats of Nen doing that yet, but Nen has very interesting uses. There's a lot of prep time into going into it, and a lot of really good writing that made the power system shine greater than a lot of other series have. And that's why Nen from Hunter x Hunter is probably and will always be one of my favorite power systems. So I hope you guys learned something. If not, if you have any questions, or if I forgot to mention something specifically, make sure to list it down in the comments below for your fellow watchers so they can see it in case I missed something. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to hit the like button, comment down below anything, or subscribe to my channel if you want to support me in future videos. I will see all of you guys in the next one. Goodbye.